Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners and welcome to Souptober Day 9, which means we only have 2 episodes left. In case you didn't watch my previous video, I did add a few more soup recipes to my stack just to make it more interesting for myself. So that wasn't just down to 3 recipes in 3 days. I wanted to revitalize that element of surprise for myself. After Day 10, I will show you what recipes are left over so that you guys can request if there's any you want to see in a future episode. But without further ado, let's see what soup is in the cards for today. So I printed out a bunch of extra recipes, which means I had 10 yesterday. I used one of them yesterday, so I am down to 9. Pick a random number 1 through 9, and it picked number 8. So I'll just make this easy and go from the bottom of the stack here. We're gonna take 1 off, and so this one should be the 8th soup in the stack. And today we are making Wendy's chili. Wendy's chili is a great one because it is gluten-free, it is dairy-free, and I feel like chili doesn't really fit into a soup series, but if you've never had Wendy's chili is somewhat of a hybrid between a chili and a vegetable soup. I actually printed out this recipe as a placeholder because I have made and shared my own version of Wendy's chili in the past, and that is actually the recipe I will be making today. This recipe that I printed out as a placeholder I got from Top Secret Recipes. I talked about that in yesterday's video. It's a blog that I pay for access to, and they do a lot of copycat recipes of various restaurants. And I used this recipe to create my own Dollar Tree version of Wendy's chili. So I cut the recipe in half and then I made some swaps based on what I could get at Dollar Tree. For example, in place of the tomatoes, I used a can of diced tomatoes. In place of the onion, chili, and celery, I used a bag of frozen seasoning blend. So that is how I make my version of Wendy's chili. Ground beef, frozen seasoning blend, pinto beans, kidney beans, diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, and chili seasoning. We talked about my bag of frozen ground beef in the cheeseburger soup recipe, and I will be using that today. Fun fact, Wendy's chili is made with leftover hamburger patties from the day before. Same thing with KFC. They use their leftover fried chicken to make their chicken pot pies. It's interesting to me how even in fast food, they found a way to reduce food waste by using leftover ingredients in another meal. But I'm gonna be using some of my pre-cooked ground beef from the freezer. We used some of it to make the cheeseburger soup. I'm probably gonna use about half of what's left to make the chili today. As far as frozen seasoning blend, I don't think I have any. I have 2 bags of pepper and onion stir fry, but it's missing a really important ingredient in Wendy's chili, which is celery. Pinto, okay, so pinto beans, kidney beans. Oh, I have a can of chili beans. This one says there's red beans in chili sauce, so I'm gonna use it in place of the kidney beans. I already have diced tomatoes and tomato sauce. In place of tomato sauce, you can also use tomato paste and water. I have some chili seasoning I got from Dollar Tree, seasoning blend, and a can of beans. Well, you know what? Since we're trying to use stuff up, I have these Southwest Zest Bush's beans that I got at Food Lion on clearance for like 26 cents or something. They were like dirt cheap. I bought a few cans of it, and it is pinto beans in a red chili sauce. So between my chili beans, which are red beans and chili sauce, and my Southwest Zest, which are pinto beans and chili sauce, should be pretty good on the bean requirement. Which brings us to the seasoning blend. I do have some celery, and I have some Dollar Tree pepper and onion stir fry. So I think we can also make this one without having to buy anything from the grocery store. I'm 2 for 2 on not spending any money, so yay. So for simplicity's sake, feel free to use a packet of chili seasoning. My box is unopened, so I'm gonna make my own today. That way I can also teach you how to make your own in the event you don't have a packet on hand. I'm pausing this briefly to interject that the reason I didn't want to open up that box of chili seasoning is because I'm trying to work through things that I have in my pantry that are already open, and anything that is unopened, when I go to move, I will donate that to a food pantry. So from that perspective, it is better for me to go ahead and make the chili seasoning rather than to open up a box that I could potentially donate. In a bowl, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of chili powder, a half tablespoon of cumin, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and a half teaspoon of salt. If you buy the spicy chili seasoning mix, just add a half teaspoon of cayenne to this. But just mix that all together, and that is your recipe for homemade chili seasoning. This is the same stock of celery that I bought in like episode 2 or episode 3, and it's still good, so I'm still using it. But I'm gonna finely dice 1 stalk of celery. I'm also gonna go through and finely dice this frozen pepper and onion stir fry. I find it's pretty easy to chop it when it's frozen. I'm just gonna try to get it as small as I can. So I'm sure you can kind of see from the ingredients I'm working with why I don't classify Wendy's chili as a chili. I classify more as a beef and vegetable soup. It's also a little bit thinner than a typical chili. My go-to Wendy's order used to be a 4-pack of their spicy nuggets and a cup of chili. So I do really like their chili. I just don't think it's chili. So that's it for the prep work. We've got our chili seasoning mixed up, we've got our celery diced, and now we have our peppers and onions diced. Time to bust out the good old soup pot. Let's get that preheating. I'm gonna toss in a splash of oil so we can saute our vegetables. All right, so I'm gonna go in there with my celery and my pepper and onions. My pot likes to dance around, so I have to like hold it in place. So as usual, when I'm working with frozen vegetables, I like to let all that excess water evaporate off. It really doesn't matter for a soup or chili, it's just a habit that I like to stay in because I like to be in full control over how much moisture is in whatever I'm cooking. At this point, I'm also gonna add in my ground beef. So remember, this is pre-cooked and frozen. I'm also gonna add in my prepared chili seasoning. And we're just gonna let that all saute together for a few minutes. This is called blooming the seasoning, and it's where you use heat and fat to activate the oils and chili powders, which helps to intensify their flavors. From this point, it's gonna be pretty dump and go. I'm gonna go in with a can of diced tomatoes. Petite diced is probably best, but I don't have any petite diced. The can of tomato sauce. There's my chili beans from Dollar General. Then we've got our Southwest Zest pinto beans. These ones have prepared pinto beans, water, jalapenos, tomato puree, cornstarch, salt, spice, garlic powder, corn oil, cumin, ground jalapeno, natural flavor, tomato powder, paprika extract, and Mexican oregano. So we are also gonna add in 1 can of water. That'll get us that nice soupy consistency of Wendy's chili. So this is what our soup, AKA chili, is looking like. It smells really good too. So it's just about boiling. I'm gonna turn the heat down to low. And like any good chili, we're gonna let time do the work for us. As you can see, it is currently 3:35. I started this process kind of early today. So I'm gonna let this simmer for as long as I can, probably until 5:30 or 6 o'clock. You guys asked me a lot for slow cooker recipes, and this one would be a great one to make in the slow cooker. When you buy ground beef, go ahead and cook it up. Then you can freeze it pre-cooked so that when you do go to make your slow cooker recipes, you can just dump it in there. You could skip the whole sauteing step. Just add all the veggies, all the canned goods, your cooked ground beef into the slow cooker and let it cook on low for about 8 hours, and you've got a delicious chili ready to go. It's been about 2 hours. It's currently 5:30. This has just been simmering away. And as much as I like to wait until I do the official taste test to try the soup, when it comes to chili, you really gotta try it and make sure that the seasonings are where you need them to be, especially when you're in this kind of simmer phase here. So let's give it a taste and see if we need to add any extra seasonings to it. Tasting your food is just an important part of cooking, and it does kind of spoil the surprise, but at least you know if it's good before you try it. It is good. It's got like a bit of a smoky flavor. I think that's either from the chili beans or the Southwest beans that I put in there, but it is a little bland. I like my chili to be a little heavy on the seasonings, but Wendy's chili is a little different. I am gonna add some extra chili powder, some extra cumin. I like it a little spicy, so I am gonna go in with some cayenne pepper. And I'm gonna add some extra salt to it. Sometimes if your food is bland, it might just need some salt. Salt is more of a flavor enhancer, and while we have all these like canned things in here, like canned tomatoes, canned beans, and they have a lot of sodium in them, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a lot of flavor to them. Sometimes it's kind of hard for me to put my finger on what I think is missing, but you can't really go wrong with just adding salt and pepper to things. So let's add a little bit of pepper. All right, I am happy with that. I'm gonna let that simmer for just a little bit longer just to kind of let those flavors that we just added meld, maybe 20 minutes or so, and then this should be ready to serve. And so that is Souptober day 9. We made a big old pot of Wendy's style chili. I will admit that I am a bit of a purist when it comes to Wendy's chili. Like, I don't really like to add a whole bunch of stuff to it. I am, however, going to add some corn chips to this and a nice little dollop of sour cream as well. But remember how I said my go-to Wendy's order was a bowl of chili and a 4-pack of their spicy chicken nuggets? I don't have any spicy chicken nuggets, but that doesn't mean we can't make our own version of our favorite fast food at home, right? My chili has sufficiently cooled. I definitely learned my lesson from last time. The enchilada soup was incredibly hot, but it did not leave me with any physical burns, so that's a plus. It was just very, very uncomfortable for that period of time. So I did add corn chips and sour cream to it, but I've got a bite of just chili without any toppings. I added some cayenne to it, which gave this a really decent kick, but it's still pretty close to Wendy's, even with all the substitutions that I made. Like, it's not identical to Wendy's, but for me, it is close enough to Wendy's for it to not matter. That is a fantastic batch of chili, though. I know you can get sour cream with Wendy's chili, but I don't think they have corn chips. I know they have like oyster crackers, I think. And of course you can do the chili on a baked potato, which if I had any potatoes, I might have done that. But like I said, I'm a bit of a chili purist. I love corn chips and chili though. The corn chips though definitely make it taste not like Wendy's chili because it's not something you can typically get in a Wendy's chili. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't really know why I didn't dunk the chicken nuggets in the chili. I think I would always get barbecue sauce. I'm giggling to myself because I honestly don't remember the last time I had Wendy's. I know that when this was my go-to order was when I was working as a pharmacy technician in Walgreens, and there was a Wendy's kind of, I don't remember if it was next door to the Walgreens. I think I could walk there. And so I would go on my lunch break and get the chicken nuggets and the chili. Even though this is like, these are like Walmart chicken nuggets and my DIY version of Wendy's chili, maybe it's a bit of an obscure combination, but it's a combination that just like unlocked a flood of memories of working at Walgreens and going to Wendy's and getting this combo. Oh man, chili and chicken nuggets, what a fun dinner. But I really enjoyed this one. 10 out of 10 for me. Took me back, nostalgia, all the vibes. I loved it. And I have a lot of chili. So circling back to the topic of what to do with the leftovers, I didn't show a use for the leftover cauliflower soup because there really wasn't much of that. I only had one container of it. With the tortilla soup, the day 7 video, I had somebody suggest to make stuffed peppers out of it. The enchilada soup, kind of the standard thought process is to take the soup and turn it into enchilada sauce. Chili's a really fun one to kind of play around with because I feel like despite the fact that it's chili, it's kind of flavor neutral in the sense, like you got chili cheese tots, chili cheese fries, you can use chili in place of taco meat on nachos. If you have any suggestions for what we can do with the leftover chili, let me know in the comments down below. And stay tuned for the final episode, Souptober, day 10.